Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, DL Hill, Julian Jeremiah, Tommy Swagnutz. I'm going to get that right. I'll do that again without the laughing. Tommy Swagnutz, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bosnail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
The big money racket.
The bunch of layers of government just to be grifters, take more money from everybody.
Yeah, because if they were concerned about the safety, I mean, it cannot be safe working in conditions like this where it's so hot, no air. Come on.
They don't. Well, if they can make some money out of it, they'll find a way.
Wow. Ridiculous. How you doing otherwise? Good?
Yeah. Considering all things.
The year of the sexton, huh?
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that.
Well,
I remember when I'm... Go ahead.
When you take a deep dive into it, like I did, things were popping up like crazy. I go, well, if they say this, then it's got to be that. How stupid is that? I wonder if the navigators even know what they're doing. And then more deep dive. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is killer. So I got more confident as I understood it and just started piecing it together. And it's very simple. A baller will come on, even one that is familiar with the sextant. And they'll say, well, I've used it. I own one. And it's not what you guys say. And then, well, what is it then? Well, it's a tool to find out where I am at sea. And I go, okay. So what do you use to do that? What do you aim it at? Well, we aim it at one of the luminaries. Okay, based on what? What's your baseline? The horizon. Okay, so you got the horizon and the luminary. Now what? Does that create an angle? Yeah. Can you show me an angle with a curved surface? Well, that's not the point.
But that is the point.
It's over. It's over right there. That's the funny part about it. That's how quick you can use the logic of it.
Can I get an opinion from the guys in Discord before we go live, so not on the spot? How are you absorbing this information about the sextant? I mean, is it sinking in? Is it useful? Are you repeating it to other people, using it as an argument? I know there's only a couple of you in there, but maybe Malby or Stug or Steve.
Hey, good morning, you guys.
Very well.
Yeah, I'm starting to use it in arguments. I'm still using the Black Swan to debunk R for the most part, but it is starting to sink in for me. The visuals help because, at first when 10th was doing it, it was on the pre-shows, and I don't go back, a couple days later and watch. So I was missing some of the visuals, but the visuals help in the live show for me. So
Okay.
it is great. It's a great proof.
Cool. You like it? You've been listening. You've been paying attention. Going, oh, okay, I'll use that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Starting to. This past week, when I've seen ever since that talk with Virus about the equal elevation for the circles, that's when it sunk in for me because there was no drop. It's a flat surface that they're using. So, and I think the distinction between what they say in the book and what they actually do, that's a good point for me too to get it, like with the snipers and the Coriolis.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Like with the snipers and the Coriolis, there's going to be things like this specifically for people out there listening. That this is the turnaround moment for them. That they're going to go, wow, yeah, they're right. It can't not be flat. Now, this isn't a revelation to me. So, while I appreciate that other people will be looking on with this example and going, wow, and it might be their pen and drop moment, but obviously I can't live that myself, and it's nice to hear it sort of is vicariously the word through other people, hearing them say, yeah, I really like this, I'm picking it up, I'm running with it. I mean, obviously that's been shown by Mitchell from India with his videos and the Flat Earth School.
Mitchell from Australia.
Isn't he Indian? Why the Indian accent then?
You said Mitchell from India, but his show is called Mitchell from Australia.
Oh, is he an Indian in Australia? I see.
He must. Well, I don't know what he is nationality-wise. All I know is his show's titled Mitchell from Australia.
Well, obviously he's Indian. Can't you tell by the accent?
I love it.
My bad. Mitchell from Australia. Originally from India.
Well, you're 14% black, so it's you like to, as you have it, you give it out. So it's very interesting that this guy in Discord had that insight with the sniper, because that's exactly what it is across the board. See, the people who are using the sextant have images and pictorials and sentences that make them feel like they're on the globe when they do this. So it's the presupposition in full force with, teaching aids. And so when they go through it, it works. But they don't realize it's working because you have a flat surface called the baseline to get your angle. They're just not connecting that. Because everything else in the pictures is orthographic and showing curves and coming from the center of the earth, which is not how it's done. And of course, you can fool a lot of people if every instructor that taught you said that's where it's coming from, and that every measurement is predetermined in the nautical almanac from the center of an earth. So while you're doing it, you're saying, yeah, this is all matching the globe. But you're doing it. And what are you doing? You're using a baseline which has to be straight and an angle to your star, and then you have to minus that from your 90, the zenith above you, and there you got your co-altitude. You times that by 60 because each nautical mile is each degree is 1 nautical mile, and you know exactly how far you are from the GP of the star to your GP, where you are. Well, if you're going to use an angle measuring device to figure that out, then you're committed and you're beholden to how angles work. Can an angle work? It's just a question. Can an angle work using one curved surface and one line of sight aimed at a star with a telescope on a sextant?
No.
And you being the endpoint?
No.
No. So that's not what they're just not getting that.
Let's say hello to Brian and Adam. Hello, Brian. Hello, Adam. How you doing? You both good?
Hello, Nathan. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Adam. Can you hear us?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Dan Phil.
Good to have you both.
You know what argument I'm getting about the sextant thing? All they can do is, how does Polaris work on your flat Earth? That's all I'm getting, right? I'm going to make a video. Yeah, that's all I'm getting. And they don't realize, what they don't realize, I'm not going to go into it now because I don't want to give the game away, but they don't realize that their argument is actually supporting my argument, or well, our argument, I should say. They have no idea what they're talking about, because this is just something they throw out. You know, how does Polaris work on your flat Earth? How does it go down by 1 degree every time you move a degree away from it, 69 miles away from it? You know, this kind of stuff. You know, it's just like they have no idea why that happens, or why there is that. Like, I won't go into it. It's just like,
well, it's obvious, Brian. It's
yeah,
obvious why.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I mean, I've already shown why it happens, but they're looking for the detail, the calculatory detail of why it happens, right? But they don't realize, that. I'm not going to say anymore because I'm tempted to say it.
Don't worry, I won't say it either. But we've
Show
said it
starts
already.
in a minute. Hold off.
Well, are you going to actually say it? Because otherwise, you know.
Well, okay, right. It don't really matter. I'd say it anyway, right? Because the amount of them that will end up listening to this to the after show and whatever. It's very simple. What do you use to take the angle to Polaris? You need an angle to Polaris, and you use a sextant, right? Where do they think their distances using degrees come from? Polaris is the baseline for all the degrees, for all the measurements, the straight line measurements. Let's just say there's a star, and I use the sextant to take an angle to the star, and that star has is like 35 degrees above the horizon, right? So, or let's say 35. That means there's 55 degrees. Then 55 by 69. I know the radius, right? Of that, I know the radius for the GP of that star, right? Due to that, using the degrees. How did they figure those kind of things out? What's the baseline for those? Polaris, the absolute boneheads. Polaris is the baseline. That's why people are able to do what they do with the sextant, because Polaris is the baseline. Why? Because Polaris sits stationary all the time. So. Is that what you were going to say, Dan?
My mouth is sealed. You told me not to say it.
I'll just say it. Just say it. It don't matter now. It don't matter. I'm not getting the cat out.
Well, they got their PZXs, I think, that you're referencing to, right? On their surface with their spherical trigonometry with the curved triangle, the PZX. I have a picture of it, and that's exactly what you're saying, but you can't get an angle with the curved lines, so it's exactly what you said.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Neil, 10th Man, who's trying to join while my intro's going on, Chocolate Saying, who did I miss? Brian's Logic, Neil, 10th Man, Chocolate, Adam, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. Welcome, one and all.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Yo, good morning.
Hello. Good to hear.
Afternoon. Can I say hello to Paula in chat, Nathan?
How are you?
Who's technically, you know how people turn up and say they're first? She's turned up and said she's the auth, which is technically 3,959th, she's claiming. So, hi, Paula.
Okay. Isn't she given a radius value for a presupposed spherical Earth, 3959th?
Well, no, she was saying she's the 3,959th person here. So technically that's the auth.
Arth, I gotcha. I thought I heard half. Her Arth. Okay. Arth, chat member. Good to have you, Paula. Thank you for that. Any evidence the R value? For Earth radius, that is.
That's X Paula.
A beautiful sound coming from Neil.
Yeah, Paula is the evidence for the R value.
Is Neil always walking backwards?
That's his reversing sound, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he waits till he's reversing to come in. Every day.
I think Adam's trying to say you got a big
Wise
bump.
ass.
So no, any evidence the R value? Earth radius. Feel free to join in from Discord.
Black Swan.
Yeah, I have proof. Alberuni. Is that working backwards enough for you?
Alberuni? Alberuni's measuring a dip angle to a physical geometric sphere edge horizon that he's going to derive an R value from, but we've debunked it with the Black Swan.
That's bullshit.
Alberuni. Alberuni.
Technically, though, Neil, you're right. It is a mathematical backworking, Alberuni, so...
Yeah, it's interesting because if John was here, not quantum eraser, but refracted curvature, we'd be saying, oh, well, up until that point, I thought it was measured. Well, perfect timing, John. I was just talking about you saying, up until the point of the Black Swan, you were under the impression that it was measured. The R value was measured. But even the dip angle derivation is still not a measurement, is it?
No, there's an assumption that comes with it.
Yeah, it's a calculation.
Well, once you realize you're trying to measure an apparent location, I mean, how do they work that out? It's apparent. Which is blatantly obvious because now when we ask them how geometric it is, they tell us it's apparent. Why would you expect it to be geometric almost? It's like, what? Didn't you guys say for years that it was?
Geometric horizon is apparent by nature as well. The whole point was that it was apparent and geometric.
Okay, all horizons are apparent by definition. Apparent meaning you can see them. Yeah? So the moment you say, well, the geometric horizon isn't apparent, it's refracted, then it's no longer a horizon. Now, their horizon is the geometric horizon, as defined by National Geographic. So they have a geometric physical horizon that should be apparent, because all horizons are apparent. But they're telling us it's not apparent, therefore not a horizon, and only exists in the maths. So Earth curve, the geometric horizon, only exists in the maths.
What was the word? What was the word that they underlined for them? What was that again? Oh, visible.
Yeah, the geometric horizon is defined as the visible boundary between the sky and the land. Well, if it's visible, that means it's apparent, i.e. you can see it. That's the geometric horizon, as defined. But because we've debunked it and shown that it's beyond the limitations of a physical geometric sphere edge, they suddenly start telling us how it's not apparent and actually refracted.
Well, their refraction, their 7/6R, like that was like before Black Swan. That was being and afterwards, stupidly, that was being convoluted in all directions, incorrectly, because the whole point of that was that regardless of how high you go, you will always appear to be looking across a flat plane to the geometric horizon. That was the point, that their 7/6R flattened out the world you see to the horizon, but the horizon was still actually Earth curve. The geometric horizon wasn't being refracted by 7/6R. The whole point was, if you are 100 feet high and you're looking out, you're seeing a big flat ocean to this horizon. But that's only because of the 7/6R, making it appear more flat than it really is. But the geometric horizon was still the geometric horizon. That didn't get refracted. No, that was the game. But they convoluted that in so many ways.
Right. What was a apparent physical obstruction at our horizon, called Earth curve and calculated in the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth curve calculator, and had objects that were moved up or down in their position with respect to the horizon being refracted with 7/6 of a radius value. Now the horizon itself is also refracted with respect to itself. So paradoxically, you've got a value for refraction through atmosphere, that's atmospheric or terrestrial refraction, bending the light of the R-based horizon that is tangent point worthy in the maths to claim that you've got things beyond it and the drop value thereof. So that's not actually a physical point for things to drop away from you in. The calculator, at a rate that assumes you've got no perspective, yeah, it all falls to pieces, and it's just crumbled to dust now, as far as I'm concerned. The claim of Earth curvature at the horizon, by way of calculations of drop, etc. It's just so dead.
Yeah, I was saying yesterday on the show, and the show just ended before I got to finish it, and I was like, no, don't finish, Nathan, because what I was saying is that ever since the Black Swan came out, what's happened is, especially since that came out, but prior even to that, but especially since that came out, is you have people who are ballers, who are shown truth, and they either go, well, that's interesting, and they accept that they can't get past it, like John, and just accept it's not a ball, or they become an anti-flat earther, and the truth puts them at a crossroads. So they either take the left path to it's not a ball, or the right path to I'm going to attack anyone that says it's not a ball, even though it's obvious and all the proof is there that it's not.
That's that fork in the road.
Yeah, anti-flat Earth. Yeah. After you've rolled down the hill, you're left with a path to walk, one that skirts that hill you've just fallen down. That'd be your anti-flat Earth path. The other branches into the flat plane that you dwell atop.
Would that be them knowing something they don't want to believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
That comes to this quote quite nicely then. This is from Tony, Sleeping Warrior, so he's been dealing with Ruith and he's put it in War in today, but I think it addresses the point. So Tony's asked, Earth is as big as the sun if we have a 15-mile horizon when adjusting for refraction in your predictive model. So he's asking what rate light is curving at to explain the Black Swan. I think Ruith comes back with, in the Black Swan, if the horizon is at eye level and basically just fades off into the distance, then the radius is infinite. And I know that short circuits your tiny little brain, but keep in mind that I'm talking to someone who needs a triangle calculator to work out. So just cheap add-on to support his outrageous assertion that on days when it's clear, the radius becomes infinite. That, to me, is the response of an anti-flat earther.
Wait. Is this
Well,
the
his words
same
don't mean
moron who
anything.
said that the definitions of words are meaningless?
That's correct. From the man who gave us the words of are meaningless, definitions of words have no meaning, to paraphrase. Yeah, this is from him.
What an idiot.
Also,
No,
we
that
have
means
infinite over 6 terrestrial refraction, all that, and then now we have infinite radius.
Well, we've got
Really?
what is it to be infinite, Adam? Is this something we can experience in our reality? An
Yeah, we do.
infinite amount
Is it-
of something?
Yeah, it's called flat. Yeah, and the mathematical effect of what he's describing is he's trying to describe a radius value to keep it as a ball, but the net effect of the infinite radius in terms of what you observe is it's observed and experienced flat. That's why you have to turn your R into an infinite, so it no longer bends.
Or he could be secretly hinting at a spatial loop.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. No, he probably didn't. If he did, he doesn't realize it.
He's basically trying to describe something that's flat as a ridiculously infinitely large ball, is what he's saying. So the radius value becomes infinite, therefore what you observe is flat.
I would just ask him, do any of those words you just said have any meaning?
No, they don't.
Not
By
according
his
to
own
him.
words.
There you go. So why are we listening to him?
To be fair, if you listen to what he did say, it doesn't have any real meaning in reality either, but it does in his little flat earth denying world. He has to.
What I was driving at, Adam, was is infinite something that you can experience?
Oh no.
Again?
A mathematical concept, isn't it?
So what you're saying is to get around this non-physical capability of the sphere based on the black swan, his description to get around it in physicality is to introduce yet another abstract mathematical idea and place that into our reality. Oh, I see. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. So this can only exist in the maths then? Even his get around only exists in maths.
An infinitely flat ball. Is that what he's saying?
An infinite sized radius of the ball, yeah, which means it's flat, doesn't it? Because if your radius is infinity, then you'll get no drop.
But is that an extrapolation of infinite over 6R? Or was it greater than infinite over 6? Like, what did he say? Like, is this guy a clown?
Yes.
Wait, but doesn't everything...
Hold on. In the past, yes, chocolate. He's described it as infinite over a 6 in this instance. You're saying R. So you've got the original R value.
Huh, okay. Just put it in an equation with infinite numbers. Yeah, that works.
But if the radius is infinite, doesn't everything get messed up? Like in their solar system?
You see, the thing is, Neil, that the claim of a sphere Earth doesn't come with an infinite radius value. It comes with a 3959 radius value and is supposed to be a rock that blocks your view. And what he's saying is, no matter how much it doesn't do that, I'll say it's just an infinite radius. I'm right. So what happened to the claim that we're on a sphere, radius 3959, and we'll have our view blocked by its physicality at the horizon that you think is Earth cone? Oh, it's not doing that, so actually infinite refraction. Yeah, you've descended into complete absurdity. Globe believers, ex-globe believers, now turned anti-flat earthers. It's just absurd.
Right, isn't it like a mathematical contradiction to assume an infinite radius? Because then it couldn't be a radius because it's infinite.
Yeah, it's got no value. So how big's the sphere? Well, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So what are you talking about?
Forever. Right?
That's
Infinite
right, Arwen. Has no.
forever.
Arwen, that's right. The Arwinian, another Arwinian paradox. There is no defined size. So you can't have a sphere.
To tie
Well,
this
if it's
into
infinite, then it's not a sphere. A radius cannot be infinite. A radius is bound to a finite size, or it's not going to be a radius.
Precisely.
That's what I'm thinking.
If you look up radius in Google, it just says yes. It doesn't even say a number, just yes. What the hell's wrong with these guys, man?
I like it, Chocolate. What's the radius, Google? Hey Siri, what's the radius of Earth? Yes. The radius of Earth. Check it out. Both Siris set off at the same time.
I mean, these people are it gets even more ridiculous. But I'll talk about that when you guys are done talking about this.
Oh, no, you feel free.
With his quote then, if I can. I'll put the other one on screen there. So it's just Tony coming back saying, as I've just said, an infinite horizon, huh? Wouldn't that be just another way of saying flat? It would appear flat, yes. I'll leave the rest of the quote there.
So even when things appear flat, an anti-flatter will assume, oh, no problem, infinite radius. Like, what? Yeah. Forever sphere. Yeah. We know, anti-flat earthers, we know. See how keen my phone and iPad were to tell me the radius of Earth.
So I was in Brandon's yesterday, and as soon as I started talking about the sextant, they're like, don't you even mention 90 degrees. And I'm like, what's wrong with 90 degrees? They're like, the sextant has nothing to do with 90 degrees. That's a lie 10th man made up.
What?
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
What?
That's what they said.
Let me get this straight. We give several really concise descriptions with cited sources describing triangulation with its 90 degrees, and they're telling you, don't mention 90 degrees? Are you having me on?
Yeah, 10th man made up the sextant.
I swear to goodness, there's multiple witnesses. I don't know
Oh,
if Don
really?
was in the chat, but he was there. Kocho was there. I'm not saying he was the one, but there was a dude who was claiming that he actually sails the world, and he uses a sextant, and it has nothing to do with 90 degrees. And all of the ballers was like, he would know. Have you ever used a sextant?
Hold on. Okay, before you hold on, I don't need to know what the peanut gallery said. Did he actually give you a practical demonstration or a pictorial demonstration of how he uses it without 90 degrees?
Of course not. In fact, 10th Man, because they said, were you watching 10th Man videos? I was like, no, but I do have this video where a guy takes you through a crash course and he basically demonstrates how you use it. And what he did send, or someone sent in the chat, was a picture of like a illustration of someone using a sextant, and they have every line other than the one that goes from the zenith to the GP. And that's the line that was gone.
So let me get it straight. They're just drawing it out without the 90 degree line straight down from the star GP at the bottom below it, because that would also require a 90 degree from their position to meet it, and they don't want to talk about the 90 degrees. Yeah, we understand that. It's a bit like you not wanting to talk about R. Yeah? Because you haven't got it anymore? But in this instance, you don't want to talk about the fact that you're going to draw a straight line to the GP of the star, and that line's going to meet it for triangulation at 90 degrees. You don't want us to talk about that. Yet that's the numpty patrol letting out their worst fears. How very telling. I bet everyone around them was thinking, shut up, don't tell them how we don't want to talk about 90 degrees, because it's all they'll ever talk about from now on.
The guy...
Yeah, that man just made that up.
I have a good one for you. The guy that was in attacking 10th Man, this fella Level Guy is his handle on YouTube. He came to my comments. Now, he had been in my comments before he came in attacking Kent, some days beforehand, at the last video I did. But he came back to my comments, as I expected he would. And he started trying to tell me the 10th man was only leading me astray. Basically, the evil 10th man was leading me astray and putting me wrong.
Wow.
I got a question about this.
Man got a target on his back, huh? Something he said apparently has rattled you guys. That's hilarious.
It's working. It's working. That's how you know.
Guys, Chocolate, Elijah. Well, guys, I can't hear either of you. You're talking straight through each other.
Sorry.
John was up to say something.
Sorry. It kind of has the most effect when you're talking at the same time, when you're hyping your mans up. This is true.
When I use triangles from now on, can I cite 10th man instead of Pythagoras?
Yes, it's actually 10th man's triangulation.
That's
Yes, he was the one that made it up. Just like John Quantum Eraser made up the scientific method.
Exactly.
And Nathan made up begging the question.
Made up begging the question. Yep.
Yeah, I made up begging the question. Quantum Eraser made up the scientific method, and 10th man invented 90-degree triangles.
The Tentherian theorem. Are we going to have then?
I don't forget,
go to master.
base made up horizontal as level.
Go to Master B. I have level guys.
You broke up there, 10th. Can you say that again? I heard go to 10th. Okay, I'm in Master B, and I'll start with. Wow, this is a long string of stuff. Did you want me to start with the globe depiction with observer on it? I think we've lost 10th man.
No. Geometry for navigation. Top one.
Hey, before you go, 10th, can I say one thing real quick?
Neil. Geometry for navigation. I've just got a string of comments and then a load of black and white pictures.
Yeah, don't worry about the black and white. Those are last. Just go up to the first part of where it says geometry for navigation.
No idea what this is. It's all comments.
I know. Just go up. Keep going up. That's that guy's comments. Level guy. Just
at the top of the comments, there's a little picture with geometry for navigation on it, Nathan.
Okay, right at the top. Okay, my bad. So they're all part of the same thing. Bloody hell, there's a lot of it.
Yep. All right, here we go. Geometry for navigation. The principles used in navigation, both on sea, land, and in outer space. We look at trilateration and triangulation. Next slide. This was your show the other day that Brian was talking about. And Level Guy says at the bottom, to science works in mysterious ways. No, it is not triangulation. The distance to the star or sun or even the horizon is irrelevant. Only the angle matters. They are just talking complete BS. Next slide from the same show. Level Guy, no triangulation needed. Next slide from encyclopedia.com. By manipulating the parts, a user can measure the angular distance between two celestial bodies, usually Earth and either the sun or moon. The observer can thereby calculate his or her position of latitude by using a trigonometric operation known as triangulation. The word sextant derives from a Latin term for 1/6 of a circle or 60 degrees. This term is applied generally to the variety of instruments today, regardless of the spans of their arcs. Next slide. We'll just go here by manipulating the middle there. By manipulating the parts, a user can measure to an angular distance between two celestial bodies, usually the Earth, either the sun or moon. The observer can thereby calculate his position of latitude by using a trigonometric, I can't even say that word, operation known as triangulation. So same thing. And then we go back to Level Guy saying some more stuff on the show. Nobody here has ever held a sextant in their hand, ever. All this is pure BS. And this sleeping warrior at the bottom goes, Level Guy, get in there and put these flat earthers in their place. Go on, lad. Now, the next slide is the black and white. This is some screenshots of the Navy showing how sextant works. So here's the GP shown on a sphere. And then the next slide, they actually demonstrate with a guy doing the GP on a field where that pole is the zenith position of the sun, and the GP is where the base of the pole is in the middle of that circle. And then he's showing how you need that baseline to be straight, and then how he triangulates where he is in relationship to the GP of the sun, based on this little illustration. And if you go to the next picture, he moves around, and anywhere on that circle, it's the same distance. But notice the baseline has to be straight. And then the next one shows him extending, and he's beyond the circle, which means he's further out, but the still triangulation has to take place. So it's a bigger circle now. And then I'll finish on the last two. So here, as you can see, a flat circle, but they put it on the globe, which is false. And then there's the star, and there's everything except that GP zenith position, right? They're not showing it. And then here in this last one, you can see when you have two circles of equal altitudes and it's triangulation. This is so comical at this point because they have to.
Lost your tent.
We lost your tent.
He's right at the end of his slide, so just while we figure out where 10th man's gone. So in this depiction, on the second to last slide, guys, if you were following along in Skype, we've got a straight line from the position that's being utilised for triangulation, where it's got this 62.33, and the line that you would measure with your sextant to the star. Now, the line out from your position is going to be drawn and acquired by the horizon. So from this position, you measure to your horizon, then you get your angle, then you use your sextant to line the two up, and then you look at the reading on the sextant to give you the angle, this angle, right? Well, from the position that you're triangulating to this position has another line which gives you the GP and the third line of the triangle for the triangulation. So, if this position here for the GP of this star is as depicted at the top of the sphere, then this position would have curved away from the GP of that star based on this curve that's showing it on a sphere. Well, if this position has curved away, you haven't got 90 degrees to acquire to the GP of the star anymore. So, even though they've drawn it on a sphere, this circle is still depicted as flat. This entire area, for this to work, must be flat. Why? Well, because you're going to be acquiring 90 degrees from your position, regardless of the tens of thousands of square miles that might be within this area or within this circle. This is all an area of equal elevation, flat, for this to work. We got 10th man back.
Yeah, I don't know where I cut off. I was going on, then I realized I was off.
That's okay. We got to your last slide, and you said here's showing it triangulating on it, albeit on a sphere incorrectly, but these two areas where they've got the crossing over for the, you need one more for a full fix, but do you want to take it from here on the last slide?
No, I mean, I heard your overview right at the end. You pretty much covered it. Look, they're fooling the ballers. Here's a guy that actually has a sextant. He uses a sextant. I don't deny that he's used it, but he's under the impression he's using it on the ball. And then when given the facts that it could only work with a baseline that's straight and flat to the GP of where the sun is, which could be 3,000 miles away, and that's just to the GP, but someone on the other side of the circle is 3,000 miles away. So that's 6,000 miles of flat. How does he justify that on the globe when they show pictures of it on the globe with the circle of equal altitude put on top of a globe? It doesn't work. I mean, his brain's not working, and yet the sextant is working. The sextant is working. It tells him where he is in relationship to the GP of whatever star he's shooting, and that's triangulating his position to the GP of the star. And he needs a 90 degree from there. But he himself is a GP. He has a fixed position on the Earth as well. And his zenith is directly like a plumb line above him. So you need straight lines to get angles. It's simple.
Shout out to Godzilla37 who says 9 out of 10 men agree. A right angle is not 90 degrees. Yeah, that's just marketing BS, I'm afraid, Godzilla. But thank you for the super chat.
That sounds like consensus mathematics.
Could you go to the 10-second last slide a second, Nathan? I just want to point something out there.
Well,
if you
there's
don't mind,
several.
before
You can, but there's several more slides arrived. Do you mean the one with the black and white two circles
they're from
intersecting?
Eli. They're from Eli.
Sorry,
just for a second.
Brian.
Yeah.
Do you mean the last slide with the black and white picture with two circles intersecting?
No, the second last one, the one with the circle, with just the one circle on top of the globe.
Okay, I'm there. It's presented.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to point out one thing about this. They laid a circle onto a globe, on top of a globe, but they didn't put it onto it. Because if they put that circle of equal altitude onto their sphere, you won't be able to see the other side of the circle. You see the little trick they did?
That's correct.
They didn't put it onto.
Yes, when it was depicted by one of our opponents, he literally did exactly the same thing and dropped in three-dimensional graphics programming a circle onto the sphere. The problem being that the back half of the sphere, back half of the circle, is blocked by this bulge between you and it. Yeah, so in other words, you can't see the back half of this circle that's drawn on screen if it's dropped on top of a sphere. Why? Well, because there's a geometric physical sphere edge horizon blocking the way, right? This line that I'm drawing my mouse over now would be a bulge blocking your view of the back of this area of equal altitude, stopping you drawing your straight, flat, 90-degree capable lines from any point on the circle, as depicted here, with the guy moving around the circle. You know, it doesn't matter where he does it on the circle, it's all the same with all 90 degrees capable from any point, because there's no bulge between him and it. This area that he's drawing out isn't falling away from him, otherwise he wouldn't be able to get the straight line. And likewise, if he was triangulating something that was much further away, it would give him a much bigger circle. But the line beyond his horizon, if he's doing it with a sextant, is going to be potentially way beyond where he's got his original 90 degree with the horizon, meaning that the circle, getting ever bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, is always depicting an area of equal altitude from any position around this circle. Now, if you transpose that onto a sphere, suddenly you've got an enormous flat area, and at any point you could do like this guy is doing. Draw a line from your position to the GP of the star. And if it's a sphere, that suddenly isn't capable because you've got a bulge between you and the GP of the star. Now, that isn't how they do it either. They consider it flat, do it flat, acquire a 90 degrees, and it works every time. Why? Because there isn't any curvature. Just that simple. Sorry, Brian.
No, that you nailed it, Aiden. This depiction in 10-second last slide, technically, because they put it onto a sphere, that should be a curved radius line they have there, which is an impossibility. You know, but that should be a curved radius line. How come they have a straight radius line on a curved surface? Can't have that.
Yeah, they've chopped off the bottom of the top of the sphere, and then you're left with what you could describe as a chord. Well,
they've tilted the circle towards the observer to take away the effect of the bulge. There should be the arc of sphere. There should be within the circle, haven't they? It's a magic trick.
Yeah, a magic trick in pictorial terms only, because in terms of how it's actually done on a flat surface. Regardless of how they draw it out in these diagrams, or the bullshit explanations they give you when they say, oh, well, you could still do it to the centre of a sphere. It's like, yeah, but they don't.
Just clip on two pictures, Nathan. I've just put that other one back in again that shows the real triangulation that tends done with the three triangles and how the perverted surface stops you having the other way.
The other way?
Yeah, in terms of the last picture in Master B, I've just posted it after 10th.
It's the one with the bent, the one with the triangulation on a radiator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it up.
Yeah, that's right. So it's just that's showing you the perversion in the mathematics and what they're. If it was on a ball, they're still saying we don't measure it on a ball, we measure it flat, but it works. But the reality is, the R that Brian was talking about, that supposed straight line that's from the GP below the star to the observer, that has to be bent at the rate of 8 inches per mile over the distance. So it can never, if you're placing this on a ball, be a straight line. Therefore, you can never use trigonometry for it.
Yeah, your depiction's great, other than you've kept on this left-hand picture, you know, the triangulation diorama left to melt on a radiator. You've still got the 90 degree. It's most obvious on S1, so I'll just stick to that. But you're showing this, for those who are unaware, this is pretty rudimentary stuff, but if you've got a squared off box in any angle representation, it's saying this is 90 degrees. But I know you couldn't go to this extent, Adam, but this isn't 90 degrees anymore, is it? From this position to here is no longer giving you 90 degrees.
To give apologetics for a picture, yeah, it was a lot of fiddling. What you'd actually have to do, if you look at S1 on the left-hand side, where the right-angled triangle is, you'll see that to keep the triangle at 90 degrees, what's happened is it's had to I've bent it, because all I've done is walk the picture. But to actually realign that correctly, you would take it from the base of the GP up to S1 and draw a straight line, and you would see that suddenly the line does become obtuse. It becomes more than 90 degrees. Yes, it's no longer. So you can therefore no longer apply your trig to it, because that's the premise that you're working with a right angle triangle. So that's the kind of the point I'm making, that as soon as you warp that image over the radiator, over the ball earth, then actually opens up the angles, and it's no longer a triangle. It's 1 point in the sky and 2 points on a sphere. So it will never have 180s in there, because it is no longer technically a triangle. It's 2 points on a sphere and one up in the air. It is not a triangle, and therefore the trigonometric rules to calculate no longer apply.
Trigonometric, just for 10th man. Trigonometric.
I have a question when I can.
Yeah, feel free. Adam, did you have anything else you wanted to go on with? Or
no, it was just to, like I say, agree with you and try to, like I say, it's not the greatest visuals, but hopefully if you can use your imagination and just fill it in, you can see what happens, how placing it on a ball perverts it and makes it unusable.
I think that's it. If you want to go ahead, whoever it was it Eric?
Yeah, that was me. So I would like, could you guys just refresh me on the trigonometry aspect of it? So the angle, you can get the angle from your point of view to the star. So like in that example, it was 62 degrees. Then the zenith to the star is 90 degrees, right? So I can't remember my math. I just want to remember it right now. So you have two angles, and because one is 90, you can calculate one side of the triangle, right? So is that the side that you're calculating is the bottom line? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's Pythagorean theorem. You don't do the calculation yourself. It's all in tables. But yeah, it's basically Pythagorean theorem, isn't it? A squared equals to b plus c squared.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So you are calculating
laws of sines or cosines to derive the tables. And 10th may correct me here, but as far as I'm aware, you're using trigonometry to derive the functions for the tables. Yeah, otherwise it'd be a lot more complicated. Like say, you would no longer be doing triangular trig. You'd be doing three-dimensional curved geometry, wouldn't you? And that's not how the tables are derived. They're derived
with squares.
Yeah.
I mean, just for you, Eric, when you were in high school and you were sitting there bored out of your mind, like I was, listening to the square on the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides and this is going in while you're dreaming off in Dozeland. You never thought once, or did you ever think once, wow, at some point in my lifetime, this will be so critical as understanding the nature of reality will depend on it. Did you ever dream that that would be the case, Eric?
No, actually, I hated school, and now like I've learned more than I ever have since I've been out, and I'm always like I know the scientific method now, and I know like trigonometry, like I know way more than I did now, and I'm a lot happier about it. So, thanks for everything I'm learning here. I have another question about this. So, if you are doing the trigonometry, but you're using the sun, right? Like you can know where the sun's position is over the Earth. Like so, when the sun's zenith is directly overhead, like in another country, like it's noon, right? Like high noon. So say it's in like high noon in Jamaica, and you're in Canada, and you're sighting the sun. Like that's thousands and thousands of miles. So it's so far away. Like it has to be flat still, right?
Yeah, if you're both triangulating it, I mean, I don't think that's capable in terms of those distances for the two people at the same time. But what you're saying is, if you're doing triangulation and you're doing it over a vast distance, obviously you'd be waiting a very long time if you were doing it with the sun. But rather than using your sun example, if you don't mind, I just change that to a star that you know the location of, rather than the sun, because then you can do it all at once, rather than waiting for the sun. Well, when you're doing that, potentially the circles that you're drawing out beneath the GP of each of those stars are thousands of miles of flat area, and must be flat for it to work.
Can I just give an example?
By all means.
Yeah. If you use the sextant and you get an angle to whatever celestial body you choose, that's 64 degrees above the horizon, then that leaves you at 26 degrees out of 90, right? So you then multiply that 26 degrees. Okay, they multiply it by nautical miles. I multiplied it by statute miles. So you multiply that 26 by 69, as in 69 statute miles per degree. And that would mean that at 64 degrees above, an angle to a celestial body that's 64 degrees above the horizon will give that, the GP, would make the GP of that celestial body 1,794 statute miles away from you. And that's straight line distance. So the problem is, that's a straight line, not in one direction. That's a straight line distance, radius in all directions from the GP of that. So the observer in an exact circle, right, using that radius all the way around that the GP of that celestial body would be 1,794 statute miles from that celestial body, the GP of that celestial body. So that means that no matter what way they twist and turn it, that is a straight line measurement. It is not a measurement that takes in a curve or distance over a curve. It's only straight. And that they are what they use. That is the exact thing they would use. They wouldn't change that. That would be okay. It's 1,794 miles, statute miles to the GP of that star. That means my circle of equal altitude will have a diameter of 3,588 miles. So they know the diameter of, so that means they have to pre-assume that there's 3,588 miles of straight flat in a one direct line from where they are. So you can't translate that over onto a ball. Can't do that. Can't just put that onto the ball. Nobody does that anyway, because they work with that exact, they don't change it from 3,588. That's exactly what they work with. One straight line measurement. They don't work with anything other than that. So anyone trying to change that will be changing the angles to the stars if they're trying to put it onto a globe, and they'll be completely screwing up all the coordinates and placements. It won't work. It doesn't work, and it works as it is. There's no way out for this, for them with this.
Great.
You guys want to read what this guy sent to me, courtesy of Professor Phil.
Sure. Is it the first screenshot that's after the 10th man's black and white pictures?
Yes.
I've got it up. Go ahead.
So basically, this was sent to pretty much say that the sextant has nothing to do with the 90-degree angle whatsoever, and that 10th man is a liar, right? So, number one, you look through the scope and line up the horizon with the center of the scope on the left side. Number two, you move the upper mirror until you align the alongside the horizon. 3, use the vernier to make fine alignment. This is kind of a messed up slide because my sound bar is in the way. Just actually, if you guys could give me a second, I'll just go back to the.
No, don't worry, don't worry. Just carry on.
Carry on. Okay. So, number 4, you read the angle between the top mirror and the scope on the scale. This is your latitude. The only lines of sight you are interested in are your direct line of observation to the horizon from the scope and the direct line of sight to the star. Next, you travel to your location and repeat the measurement. The difference shows you change in latitude. Every degree is 60 nautical miles. There is no right angle to be concerned about. Under the star has nothing to do with the sextant. Professor Phil, I guess.
Waiting for 10th man to comment.
Can I
just got back.
Sextant, 10th? Just to show that we do have a sextant. We do know what a sextant is. Well, just so for ballers, there you go. Sextant. Yeah, we know how they work.
Sorry, am I supposed to be showing your screen in?
Well, no, I'll just show it. Well, you can do. I mean, it's just there's a sextant. We know how it works.
No, Adam, hold on. Everyone, calm down. I don't know how to get you. There we go. Got you.
Just to show. Sextant.
It's CGI.
It's CGI. It's not, I've just dropped it. I broke it. But the point is, we do know how a sextant works. We've used it to confirm it. Just, do research these things. And that explanation there shows a complete lack of understanding of the point of measuring the angle with the sextant. Yeah, it requires you to set up your straight baseline to generate your 90 degrees. That is the whole purpose of it. As we outlined earlier, somebody in Discord, it's using trigonometry. You may not be measuring the 90 degree, but you're setting it up with your level. That's the purpose of it. So you set it up so your sextant's level. That generates your 90 degree for you to then have your measurement you're going to take of the star. So,
can you hold up the sextant again with you a bit lower for my thumbnail? That's beautiful.
He wants to see the sextant, Adam, and not you.
No, I want to see Adam. I want to see Adam smiling. No, I do want to see. There you go. That's the one. There we go. That's the money shot. Perfect. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, guys.
And 10th man is not a liar. Okay.
Well, he is leading
why I
us
went and
astray,
fetched it, Neil, because I heard that comment as 10 said it, and that was actually the premise with the disproof.
Hey, I just got back. I don't know what happened. The internet's in and out, but I missed pretty much the whole show. I just got back, so.
Oh no!
I'll have to watch it again, but basically, I get the gist of it.
If Eli reads out what Professor Phil wrote again, what was sent to you, Eli, from that is from Professor Phil. That is what he says. Would you read that to 10 again, if that's okay with Nathan?
Is it starts at the top #general? Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's on screen again if you want to go through it again.
That's a Master B. You want to read it?
You guys are coming in and out like crazy. My internet's bad today, but the gist of it I'm getting without even reading it. But But if Professor Phil wants to go on record of saying how sextant works, I'm very happy about that, because everything that I got came from the current globe view of how sextant works. There's no flat earth sextant YouTube channel. There's no flat earth sextant nautical almanac. There's no flat earth sextant GP to a star. These are all things that anyone could just go on YouTube or just the internet search to see how sextant works. There are navigators with YouTube channels that I've contacted. I've talked to them. Just go compare what everything out there is about a sextant, then compare it to Professor Phil or Kosho or whoever wants to jump in the fray here. It's the best. This is the trap I wanted to lay, because the minute they come on, they have the same sources as I do. That's why I use their language, their citations, everything. What it shows is that they have been hoodwinked to think you can get an angle with a curved bottom baseline. And an angle cannot be achieved with a curved bottom baseline. And that is the argument. You have been hoodwinked, because the sextant does work, because it works on a flat plane.
10th man Machiavelli them.
What Professor Phil wrote is absolutely. Can I read it out again, Nathan? That be okay?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. How to use a sextant, courtesy of Professor Phil Bell. 1. You look through the scope and look at the horizon with the center of the scope on the left side. 2. You move the upper mirror until you align the sextant alongside the horizon. Or scope, I think, along the horizon. I can't see that part. 3. Use the vernier to make fine alignment. 4. You read the angle between the top mirror and the scope on the scale. This is your latitude, the only line of sight you are interested in, and your direct line of observation, direct line of observation to the horizon from the scope, and the direct line of sight to the star. That's 2 lines of sight, to the horizon and to the star, direct line. Next, you travel to your next location and repeat the measurement. The difference shows he probably meant to say your change in latitude. Every degree is 60 nautical miles. There is no right angle to be concerned about. Under the star has nothing to do with a sextant. Now, he just shot himself in the foot several times before he got to his culmination at the end. He's using straight line of sight to the horizon, a straight line of sight to the star. He didn't mention anything about horizon dip correction, right? The first thing you have to do, and he's trying to claim angles have nothing to do with it. What's a straight line to one thing and a straight line to another thing from the same source? It's an angle. So he's laying out how you create your angle, right, before he says you don't use angles. And then he's talking about latitude. How would you know what latitude you're at? How do you find your location? The whole point of the sextant is you triangulate your location. How do you know just pointing the sextant at a star and at the horizon and do no horizon dip correction is not going to tell you anything. You have to. How do you know how do you know what latitude you're at? It's complete and utter BS. And under the star has nothing to do with a sextant. I mean, this is who we're dealing with. Absolute jokers. I mean, is this guy for real?
Well, the next step is they're going to say we made up geometry. So,
well, look at the next. Remember when I said there was an illustration of someone using the sextant, and they just straight up erased the line that goes from the zenith down to the earth, and the dude says, "Where's the mythical 90 degrees?" I mean, that's where we're at, man.
Wait, are you saying it was there and then they took it off? I'm not actually looking at the picture. Should I go look at it?
Well, no, I think
he found one. He found a depiction of how a sextant is used where they don't use they just don't put the right angle on there. They don't put the straight line from the horizon to the star.
They are showing the angle. They are showing the angle. The blue line is light from the horizon, and the purple line is light from sun, star, or moon. And they're showing the curved line in between them is that's showing the angle. If you carry on that purple line to meet the blue line in a straight line, and obviously if you do horizon dip correction, that's your angle. They're showing their angle right there. You could just get out any Microsoft Paint or any of these kind of things, and you just add in that line and add in horizon dip correction. There's your angle. That's your angle.
It's very. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you look up zenith distance, just look up zenith distance. The whole concept is that the star is directly above Earth somewhere. If they want to go this way, I'm excited, because the whole nautical almanac is telling you where the zenith is of that star at any place on the Earth at a given hour, minute, second. That's what you take the readings from the sextant once you get your angle measurements in degrees and minutes, and go to the book right away. That's why I said write it down quick. Don't wait. And then you'll find out where that star is directly over the Earth with its GP, ground position. Now, to have a ground position, it's got to be directly overhead. That is your plumb line. That is your zenith. You're not there. You're over here somewhere. You want to know how far that is. So when you shoot it and it gives you the reading, and you go to the nautical almanac where it's already listed where it is at that time and date. That's why you need the chronometer, and you need to go to the Greenwich time and all that, so that you can specify exactly where over the Earth that star is, like a plumb line, a vertical. That's the GP. That's one of the two lines you need for 90. Then your baseline is you to that GP over the surface of the ocean. That baseline has to be straight and flat, horizontal. That's why it's always shown with a box, the 90 degree. Now, all you're trying to figure out is the hypotenuse, which is what gives you your triangulation of where you are in that circle of equal altitude. These guys are throwing the nautical almanac away, the GP of every star away, if they're going to deny a vertical position over a spot on the Earth called the GP. They're absolutely insane.
With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Hate the show. They can't stand the show. There's no educational value in the show. They don't watch the show. But they know that 10th Man is talking about it, so much so that when I go to another platform, outside of gyms, outside of here, outside of 24/7, and I go to talk to the ballers, they're like, oh, when I said I want to talk about celestial navigation and the sextant, don't you mention 90 Degree. 10th man is a liar. He's a liar.
Yeah, that happened yesterday on Brandon.
Well,
Yeah.
to my defense, I'll say, okay, then if I'm a liar, I went to all of your resources, so then they must be lying to me.
Yeah, but they're gonna claim you just don't understand how it works, 10th man.
I
No,
put in too
the
many
10th man
hours.
is obviously leading us all astray. The evil 10th man.
Well, my question would be, if you're doing it on a curved the curved line, right? How are you going to get a vertex? How are they going to meet?
They won't.
You're not.
They're not.
That's my point. When I go looking and studying it, it actually only goes up to 60 degrees. Now I think it calculates 120 degrees, but you only go up to about 60 degrees with the arm. There's a I can't remember it off the top of my head. 10th man probably knows what I'm talking about.
Like my thumbnail.
It has to do, again, I could get into the minutia, which I purposely avoided, because when you go into the steps you have to take, that's where they get these ballers all confused. Like, okay, I got to stop thinking, just follow the method, then I'll know where it is. I avoided all that on purpose. Now, there are videos I've watched for hours that explain it, and it's even after they explain it, it's confusing of how to go through the worksheet and everything. It's just too many steps. Now, I did find one video where the guy bypasses all the steps. He says, I traveled on my boat, and I didn't go through all the steps. I just used a sextant, and I knew I wasn't going to be precise, but I was never more than 20 miles off. But when it comes time to where you really need to know, you got to go through the steps to be like a mile off, from your target that you're trying to get to. I said, okay, fine, but that's not my point. I didn't go into this or bring this up for that. I wanted to know how the GP of the star, that's 3,000 miles away on a curved surface, how is that gained by a sextant, the angle? Now, it is an angle measuring device. They even say it, okay? And it needs two things, the luminary, a star, a sun, whatever, and the horizon. Okay. And they always show a 90 degree there. Always. They do, not me. They do. The zenith position is the highest directly overhead, but that's where the sun is, 3,000 miles away. That's the GP. Now, where are you? You're 3,000 miles somewhere away from it, but you don't know where. So you shoot it, and you got to have that baseline be flat to create the 90 degree. And then how do you set the bearing on the chart? You go to azimuth. Yes, you still have to point in that direction and get a bearing like a compass. From the north in a clockwise motion, you do the azimuth. And then you do two lines of, interception, your line of position, your position line. And because on the chart, you can't draw a circle that big. So they take a portion of it, and they have straight lines marking where they are, but that's got to have a baseline straight to the GP still. And that's a 90 to the zenith of the star, which is directly overhead of that GP. So this is going to be fun. If it lasts 5 years or 50 years, the ballers are gone. There's countless hours of navigators teaching sextant that say what I just said. Good luck. Bring it.
Well, we're very grateful to, or I'm very grateful to you, because you've cut through the periphery in terms of what is being done and ignored the minutiae detail of steps that could be detailed but aren't really worthy of the ultimate question that's being asked at the end of the process. Where'd you get the 90 degrees? Now you've obviously got to give a certain amount of validation to why you're asking that question and a certain understanding of what the sextant actually does in order for people to absorb that information and then regurgitate it at their opponent. But ultimately, I haven't had to do any research to come to those nice, concise conclusions. 10th man's done it all. And for everyone else has picked up off 10th man off the back of his, research. It's like, yeah, you didn't have to go through all of the minutiae of what it really is doing and what steps you've got to take in order to achieve this result. All you need to know is how triangulation works, what the sextant does in its most basic form, how it acquires the angle, and what angles are being acquired. Then you can ask, where'd you get your 90?
Yeah, exactly. And
that's when they say, no, not 90 degrees. Don't bring that up. Please.
Now, what's the purpose using the index arm and the mirror on the index arm that moves to the mirror for the horizon that is not movable? Why are you bringing the sun through the index arm mirror to the horizon? Why are you bringing it down to where the sky meets the ground, or in this case, the ocean? What's the purpose of that?
So that you can get the angle.
It's at an altitude.
Once they match, obviously, you've then got the angle on the side of the sextant telling you what angle it was once they're both on the same plane when you look through the, whatever you call it, viewfinder.
I showed a picture of a protractor a couple of days. Hang on. I showed a picture of a protractor. Everyone knows what a protractor looks like. It's got a baseline and then the arc, right, and 90 right in the middle. Everyone with me? Yeah? Hello?
Yeah, I used one of those in like 4th grade, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So guess what a sextant is referred to? A glorified protractor. What's the protractor bottom? Is it curved or is it straight? Is it 180?
180
Everyone
straight.
that I used was always straight.
Thank you. That's a sextant. That's what you put on the horizon.
Yeah, I always broke my ruler, so sometimes I had to use the protractor.
Hey, real quick,
it didn't
Tits
make
Man.
a curve line.
Hold on, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. I'll address it after. Go ahead.
So I've heard that on this when we've been having conversations before. So we're using the sextant to plot our points along the latitude and longitude. But I've heard you guys say before that latitude and longitude are arbitrary, like they're just made up. So before that, the latitudes and longitudes were established. How did they use the sextant? Or am I misunderstanding?
Can I ask Brian to answer this?
Yeah. The baseline for latitudes and longitudes and the use of the sextant comes from Polaris. So they established the latitude and longitude grid off of the sky. So it was all established, basically it was all kind of established around the same time. They needed the latitude and longitude grid to use they needed to use a sextant with, because there's degrees to it. It's kind of tricky. The latitude and longitude grid is based off of the sky. That's the best way, and most of it starts with Polaris as the baseline. I'm not explaining this very well.
I'll throw like a little peanut in there. Basically, what he's saying is a line on the ground, that's arbitrary. It's not really a line on the ground. Like you're taking a reading from the sky.
Yeah. Let me give it this a try. Let me give it a try.
I just want to say one thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The longitude lines are the degrees. So the latitude lines are kind of like connectors or in the web, but the longitude lines are the degrees. So all along the longitude lines, we'll have the degrees, and that all starts with Polaris as a baseline. So go on, Ted.
Yeah, when I called the navigation school, I said, how do you get the positions of the star from the year 2000 to 2050 and put it in a book? How do you know where that star's going to be? Now, of course, I'm sending a coded message, like if we're on a ball that's spinning and we're going all these crazy directions at insane, speeds, how do you know where that star's going to be 50 years from now? And the answer back was surprising, but still very good. He said, well, forget that. We know what it was 1,000 years back and 1,000 years forward. It's just too big to put in the book. I said, okay. So then what they've done is they've mapped the sky. They've mapped the sky, and this is more, I believe, is my next entry that I'm doing a lot of study in, is right ascension and declination. So they've mapped the sky, and when you're on the Earth, that's the horizontal map. And so they've just put that map of the sky on the Earth where the stars would be at any given hour on the Earth. And this is how they get their longitude, latitude to coincide with the sky map. That's the best I know at this moment. But that doesn't take away from the fact that in order for that star to be somewhere 3,000 miles away from you, you need an angle to it, and you need that second mirror to bring it down to the horizon, which has to be a straight baseline, or you will never get where you want to go.
Well, I'd like to address something real quick, 10th man. Akuma virus, I don't know what he's on about. He says he doesn't understand that the circle of equal altitude can't be flat. Only the LOP is equal in altitude.
Well, the GP is the ground position of that sun.
Right.
Now, obviously, no one is saying the sun all of a sudden comes down and sits there. No, it means its zenith is directly above it. So the highest position of the sun is giving that GP for that that illustration. So if the sun is 3,000 miles away from you, and it's directly over this spot of the Earth, that's the center of the equal altitude, and you're somewhere on the circle, how'd you get that angle without a straight baseline? You can't get it off a curve line. It's impossible for the sextant to work off of a curved baseline. It would be useless.
All right, can somebody drop hold on a second. Sorry. Can somebody drop the black and white picture? I think it's the first one with the picture of the guy, it's PF #42314, and then a time, or a time code for the video. It's got a picture of a guy doing triangulation with a circle. Can somebody put that in Discord? Please.
Yeah, I would just like to add that what Akenforus is completely getting wrong. He's actually making our argument for us while contradicting his own argument.
Right. That's why I had to point that out.
Yeah, totally. If you're using a straight line measurement, then you can't take the diameter of, let's say, the radius or diameter of that circle of equal altitude, which is a straight line measurement, and you're using that measurement as your miles, as your nautical or statute miles in straight line distance. You can't just put that onto a curved surface, onto a sphere. You can't just put a 2D circle onto a spherical surface without the arc that will reside within that circle of equal altitude being greater in distance than the diameter of the circle. So if you're using the diameter, the radius and diameter as straight line distance for that circle, then you can't just use that, you can't just plop that onto a sphere and think that it's all going to be the same. It won't. First of all, your angles to the stars, the original angles you took, they're completely gone. You have all new angles to the stars, so they don't translate. Secondly, is the distance along the top of the arc that resides within the circle of equal altitude, or within the 2D circle, will be more in miles distance than the diameter of the circle. So your placements, your coordinates, everything will be out. And they don't do any of that. They just take a straight line distance and use that, and that always works. So they can't take a straight line distance on a spherical surface, they can't use angles on a spherical surface, and they can't use straight line distances on a spherical surface, because there is no such thing as straight line on a spherical surface.
Sorry to interrupt. Did anyone authorise me to put these into the Discord chat? It keeps deleting them, Nathan Rogers.
I'm actually presenting them now through just Skype. If it's,
I'm wondering why.
No.
It's
useful. What I need is Adam's trying to post this picture that I've got on screen for my audience, which is a black and white picture of a guy triangulating the GP of the sun, and he's just drawing out a circle, and he's got a triangle, and you've got an angle to it. I need them to see that in Discord, so I can say, okay, if the bottom line in this depiction of triangulation in practical application has a curved line between the GP and your position, how do you get the 90 degrees? So if he's saying the area of equal altitude only applies to the line on the outside of the circle, well, that would imply that there's a hump between this guy and the point of the GP of whatever he's measuring. Well, then you haven't got this line that's straight anymore. So I want that squared. This circle needs squaring if you're going to claim that, no, it's only the outside edge that's got an area of equal altitude. It's then curving up towards the centre of the GP of the star, because it's a curved Earth, right? Well, no, because then you haven't got this 90-degree angle anymore. So I want that explaining if someone's going to claim that the outside edge is the only bit of equal altitude, even though it's specifically called an area of equal altitude. Meaning the whole area must be flat for this line to give you 90 degrees.
It's done, it's in there now, Nathan.
Perfect. Virus, you there? There's no rush for you to answer the question, but I just want you to have a quick look at the picture that's been sent to you. Black and white picture of a triangle, like a chalk triangle on the ground with a guy. We'll come back to Virus later, once he's had a little goosey. But this isn't possible if the surface between the guy and the point on the ground with a 90-degree angle out there was curved. This doesn't work if it is.
You know what the absolute end of the whole argument is, as far as I'm concerned, is that a radius line is a straight line. You can't have a curved radius line. And to have what they want, what they need to have on the surface of a sphere requires a straight radius line.
Right. So what Brian's saying is this line here, even though in this depiction black and white, apparent, right, because of perspective, this line here looks shorter to the centre, yeah? And obviously this line to where the guy's actually making the measurement looks longer. But in reality, they're both the same. Yeah? It's the radius of this circle. So it doesn't matter how this guy walks. If you imagine this was a maypole, and he's pulled out a piece of string from the top of the maypole, as he walks around in a circle, this distance does not change. It's the radius. Yeah? That's what gives you a straight line from the centre to the outside point of this circle. Well, if this point is curving down towards the guy, suddenly that's not possible anymore. Suddenly it's not a straight line he's drawing. It's got a curve between him and it. Yeah? And he's not going to walk around with a giant scythe slicing off the top of it either, as it's depicted when they put it on a globe. This is a flat circle with a radius capable, not curved in the middle. Yeah, they've drawn it that way, but that certainly isn't what's happening. You need 90 degrees. It must be straight.
How would that work with an infinite radius?
It wouldn't.
Well, if you think about it like this, say the distance say the GP is like 1,000 miles away from you, right? Well, if you imagine someone 700 miles ahead taking the same measurement and they got a 90 degree, there would never be a line of sight between the guy 300 miles away from them. Exactly. He would never, like, his 90 degree wouldn't be the same as the guy, 1,000 miles away.
I'll just draw this pictorially for what you've just said, Eli. So this guy's drawing a line to the 90 degree point in his triangulation measurement, right? Now, if I put a guy in the middle of this straight line, right, he will still be capable of taking the exact same measurement. Yeah, he'll have a steeper angle, but he'll still be able to do the exact same thing. He's just drawing out a slightly smaller, flat area with a radius in all directions of a circle that he's drawing out from that point. Well, the guy suddenly doesn't have to worry about the fact that between where the original guy measured and the GP of the star, according to idiots like Virus, is apparently elevated. So suddenly the guy isn't on the line anymore, he's up higher because there's a bulge that he's sat on? No. Both men will be capable of doing the exact same triangulation from any point on this flat area. It makes absolutely no difference. And that's only possible if Earth's flat.
Well, all the zeniths are required. Sorry, Eli, go on.
No, I'm just rooting on my guys. Woot woot.
Is that a woot woot?
The problem here is they don't understand the words and the meanings. Nathan, I'll put a couple of slides in. Masterby, if you go to those, please.
Okay, give me 20 seconds.
Yeah. So go on, Brian. Take the 20.
Yeah, just before you go to the slide to the presentation, all the zeniths all the GPs, all the zeniths to all the celestial bodies have to be parallel for this to work. It doesn't work if they're divergent. And all the radius lines from the observer to the GP will give you your distance, and all radii must be straight, and all distances are straight line distances. They're treated as straight line distances, and they're calculated. It's all calculated as straight line distances. So you can't change that. You can't change parallel and straight lines. You can't do that. That's a requirement of this for it to work. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist.
Okay, just to reiterate Brian's point, on screen now, if you ignore the diorama melted on a radiator depiction on a globe that doesn't work, between the GP of S2 and the ground and the GP of S1 and the ground and S3 and the ground must be parallel. All of the radii between S1 and the triangulation position and S2 and the triangulation position and S3 and the triangulation position must all be capable of being drawn out on the same flat plane.
Well, all the zeniths, Nathan, all the zeniths to those three, if you look at the center of those three circles of equal altitude, you have those right angles, and you have the zenith, the S1, S2, and S3. They all have to be parallel to each other. They cannot be at diverging angles. It doesn't work.
Yep, thank you, Brian. 10th, go ahead. Thank you, Brian. Absolutely spot on. I've got your first slide, your black and white one with the guy dragging the... Exactly, this is what I was describing earlier, right? The guy a bit further away. He's still got a straight line. Sorry, I'm taking your thunder here, 10th. Sorry. We've lost your sound, by the way, 10th.
Sorry, I was on mute because Brian was talking. I'm saying, go ahead, Nathan, go ahead. No one can hear me. Yeah, so you've got the circle of equal altitude, the middle, the second slide. Can you show that one first?
I've got the black and white one where the guy's a bit further away from the circle.
Yeah. But go to the next slide first before we go to that one.
Yep.
Okay, so here's a circle of equal altitude. How do you get 50 degree from every place on that circle if that baseline is not flat, level, straight,
you can't.
horizontal?
You can't.
Okay.
This
done
to here must be straight and flat, and this to here must be straight and flat on every part of every bit of this circle. To get 90 degrees, the guy could be here or here, and the line will still be straight to the 90 degree from every position.
Okay.
It's good now.
Now go to the second, the following slide before we go to the black and white one.
Okay, altitude and zenith distance.
Yeah, look at the explanation on the left side, on top part. Zenith distance equals what?
90 degrees.
Thank you very much. But you know why it's difficult to get that 90 degree in the ocean? Because you're on the boat and it's moving. So they say, if you set it on the horizon, you automatically have your 90. Goodbye. Why do you think they bring the sun down to the horizon? So they can get the actual zenith position of the navigator. He needs a GP. He has a zenith position. Guess what's working 3,000 miles away? The same concept. The sun is directly overhead. It's got a ground position. The ground position, as you can see here in this slide, is that star with the line going in their model to the center of the Earth. It's a straight line. And you need a horizon, whether the Earth's or their celestial mapping horizon, to get your angles. If you don't have a 90, you don't have a sextant. And if you don't have a sextant, you've been lost at sea for 300-400 years, but only if you believe in the globe Earth. Because it can only work on a flat plane.
Okay, so Discord server. Is there anybody in there who wants to pipe up in respect to acquiring 90 degrees when there's a bulge between the triangulation position and the zenith of the light in the sky that's being triangulated. I've got it up on screen for my audience now. I'm hoping somebody's going to say, no, you can sit on this position and still get the exact same 90 degree if you're elevated slightly because this position dropped away on a curve. It isn't possible, but I hope somebody will pipe up and say, no, it is, because...
While they're doing that, go to the black and white slide now, the one that I put the black and white.
Yep.
Okay, so here
What point?
it is.
I'll get that one in.
Yeah,
My
perfect.
point to
Scroll up,
Virus is it won't be equal.
There you go.
The vertex won't be equal on a curved horizontal. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it is. But you can see here in this celestial navigation video at Periscope Films how they're demonstrating what you're doing at sea. You can see they've got the circle of equal altitude there. And in this one picture that I took a screenshot, he says, well, what if you're further away? Well, then you would draw another circle of equal altitude. They started with the one that's there for demonstration purposes, but it doesn't matter. That baseline, you can see that tape that it's using. It has to be straight to get the angle, and you're working with a 90 degree. You got three sides of a triangle you need, and you need a right angle triangle for the zenith of the star. It can't work any other way. Oh, by the way, I got all this information from the baller's view of how a sextant works. So you're going to eat your own if you come after me.
It's no longer their own, right? Their own are now anti-flat earthers. What you're talking about is globe rhetoric. So they have to say, run from the 90 degrees because that's what the globe is based on, right? They don't like that.
Well, they the problem is, one second, because the Kubu is just. Can you get on mic and say the circle of equal altitude isn't the area of equal altitude?
Yes, do that.
I mean,
yeah, math guy.
But that's what I'm kind of asking. So I'm asking Virus, I have to post in these pictures to explain how if it's not an area of equal altitude, it's just a circle on the outside that's of equal altitude. Then in the second depiction where the guy's taken the triangle further out, in other words, he's increased the radius of his particular circle of equal altitude, equal elevation, all flat to get the 90. If it was the case that that circle was of an area of equal altitude, then this area would be rising up to the GP of the star. And then the position that's on the inside circle is higher and no longer gives you 90 degrees to the star because it's higher up. So 90 degrees is no longer capable from that position in this depiction if it's not all flat. So I need that explaining to me if he's saying, okay, it's just the circle. I've called this out twice now, Virus.
Can I make say something that this suggests? Yeah, can I declare something that this seems to suggest? This suggests that the sky is a flat plane. Because my angle to
I've been doing it.
My angle to a star.
Finish.
My angle to a star is like 35 degrees above the horizon. Whoever is underneath that star is not seeing that star at 35 degrees below what would be a 90. They're not seeing that low in the sky. If for them that star is as high as the star that's at my zenith.
Correct.
So the star at my zenith and the star at their zenith are just as high as each other. It's only perspective that I see it lower. That's all it is.
Exactly. So the celestial sphere, in terms of the way it's described and utilised as a philosophical way of understanding the movement of the stars, has you, in metaphorical terms, at the GP of the star when you're looking up above it. It's above you, rather. So if you're at the GP of that one position for that star, then that creates a dome of the heavens, or a celestial sphere. But that's just based on your perspective, based on your position underneath the GP of that particular star at that particular moment. But that doesn't mean that you've got a curved sky. It means you've got a flat sky for that to work. You're right, Brian.
This bit, the top bit's flat,
forever.
but the bottom, if you look at what Tent's posted, if you take the bloke and he's measuring the angle actually on the perimeter of the circle, then he goes further away and he measures a different angle, a smaller angle, as further away. And the premises of the navigation is that these angles relate to your distance away from the GP of that particular star. That's how it works. What you heard at the beginning with the 69 miles per degree is what they're saying is that as he goes further away, it's nothing to do with him being further away. It's because the ground has become more curved and therefore the angle to measurement. And that's how it works on the ball. That's what they're saying. Every angular change is due to your position with regards to the rotation and its relative curvature, where the GP plays out based on curvature. But as you can see here, the method in which it's actually calculated is on a flat surface, and the angle you measure relates to the trigonometry. It relates to the distance. It does not have any relationship to the curvature of the surface which you're measuring from.
Right, but you can in a vague way describe it as they have done on a sphere if you only have one position. So if you've got one position, you can describe your position at the GP of the star in the same way as you would have to describe it from, on this black and white picture, you standing here and having the world curving away from you. The problem is that GP at a given moment is the same. It's its position above the ground. And you can triangulate it above the ground. And so can two other people at the exact same time. Put it at that exact position above the ground. Now, obviously, if they then draw circles around each of them and each triangulate, they can draw radius out to their circles respectively with a flat line to the GP of the star for all three of them. Well, that breaks down on a sphere. It doesn't work anymore. It can only be flat.
Yes, if I'm Nathan, if I'm looking at a star and it's 35 degrees above the horizon, and you're directly below that star, and you're looking at another star and it's 35 degrees above the horizon, and I'm directly below that star, then that means that both of those stars are both of equal height, or appear to be of equal height.
Yes.
Which makes the sky flat.
Exactly. The lines between all three of those people join up and are flat.
It's just all perspective denial, isn't it? From their side.
Yeah.
That's all it's ever been.
Yeah.
Don't forget that I've told you that I, alone, in the wilderness, think that it's a flat top. Thank you.
You're not alone in that.
Nice try, Eli.
No, I was the first to say it's a flat top. I don't know if y'all said the other verbiage.
Nathan said that to me years ago.
All right.
Flat top.
Years ago. Look.
I discussed flat top 5 years ago.
It's not uncommon.
An
It's fair
integral
enough.
necessity for a rectangular looping Earth.
Look, to be fair, it's not discussed often, so the fact that Brian's brought it up in this instance doesn't mean that suddenly it's a revelation to anybody on the panel. But by the same token, it might be to an audience member who's never heard it discussed before. I might go, what do you mean the sky's flat? Well, again, it must be, or this wouldn't work.
Yeah, this is proof that it seems to be flat. But that it's not curved would be a better way to describe it, isn't it? It's proof it's not curved. It can't be.
The Atmos plane.
Yeah, atmoplane, correct. I mean, it has been described that way a few times. But nobody actually ever draws an association to it, and there's never been a need to, right? In fact, I shy away from it. I'm like, I don't know what the lights in the sky are. But in terms of how they move and how they operate and the geographical position below each one of them and where it maps out on a territory that we're deceived about with millions and squillions of maps, that still functions in the same exact way and has done for what is, I don't know if this is true, but let's just say 1,000 years. Why not?
The celestial plane. Now we know.
Yeah, the ground's flat, the sky's flat, we're on a flat plane. You know, doesn't mean that there's going to be a bulge at the middle in the South Pole because of some preconceived notions about how the dome of the heavens is alleged to be a celestial sphere wrapped around a ball Earth because it's been mapped that way, and utilising a philosophy that only can be capable of doing things from one position when describing how they move. As soon as you start measuring them with an actual position below them that someone could be literally stood below, and you start drawing out lines between you and other people who are triangulating their position with where you are standing now as a GP below a star, suddenly you've got a whole load of lines that are capable of being drawn out from your position to another person's position, and they must be flat in order for this triangulation to function, and it does. So the notion of it being a curved surface is completely out of the window. It literally doesn't jive with reality anymore.
Well, if you really want to set the anti-flat earthers off, you can just point out that the sky is also measured flat.
Didn't we just do that like 25 seconds ago?
I think he just wants to stick that needle in him. Like,
oh no,
yeah,
no.
Not only the
hold on, chocolate. But I missed. Hold on, chocolate. Sorry, I didn't pick up on the subtlety of what you said there. Measured flat is what you just said, didn't you?
Yes, sir. The measurements is what their religion's based on, right?
Right.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Right, so what have we got in the almanac? 10th is another depiction of the flat plane above the flat plane. He's gone.
I have a question.
Go on, Eric.
This is related, but it's not like completely. I just want to clarify, why can't we use the sextant to also determine the height of the star? Because now we have two angles. We have the bottom of the triangle. Now, why can't we calculate the other side?
You can.
I don't think that it works that way.
Hold on. You can, and people do, and they do assert it.
So can't you use that for evidence as distance to the sun? I know that there's a reason why not.
Okay. So you're saying
No,
that
you
you're going to
can't.
now utilize this to give you an actual distance to this tangible object in the sky called a star?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. But based on this trigonometry, that's what I was thinking. But
Yeah,
it's apparent, right? So,
yeah, you can, if you wish, right? I'm not going to stop you. If you want to take that step and inference and then ascribe the height to it, you can. But I'd then be asking you, okay, so you're telling me that this position depicted in black and white here, right? What's at the top of the line? Well, I can't actually see anything. It's just an imagination position, right? Well, he's saying all above that is it's the GP of the sun in this example, according to what 10th Man's told me. I'm just going to take him at his word. But okay, if this is depicting the sun, where's the sun in this picture? Well, here? Well, no, it wouldn't be for me. It would be in a different position, wouldn't it? So you're talking about triangulating an intangible object. Now, does it work in terms of the parallel positions that you can acquire for the GP? That's the ground position. That's the position below it versus the angle of measurement from your triangulatable position. But does that mean that you're getting an actual position to the angle that you're measuring? I would say no, because you're measuring an intangible object.
Can I explain why it won't work? Why it doesn't work?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to use you in the example, Nathan. That if I'm looking at a star and it's at my zenith, my 90 degrees, and Nathan is looking at the same star and it's 35 degrees above the horizon for him, how do you determine the height of it? All you can say is its angle is a certain. You know, it's like this. When they do angular measurements of something, right? They do an angular measurement of a mountain, right? That's the only vertical angular measurement they do. But they do that's its angular size at a distance, right? But to actually find out what the actual height of that mountain is, they can't just go on angular size. So I can't tell by looking straight up how high something is above me. And if it's only, and when Nathan looks at it and it's 35 degrees above his horizon, then how do you determine any vertical measurements? You can't.
You can, the same way you would with any other triangulation. So obviously, if you've got the two squares for the two other triangles, you can calculate the other one. Well, the one on the side here is going to be, although I can't fit a square on this screen, or just about, that would be your height. Well, you can ascribe it with the triangulation, I assure you. People do it all the time.
Well,
I just don't do it here.
No, you can't. You can't do it, Nathan, because you can show on the surface of Earth what 3,000 or 4,000 miles is. You can show that. You have no idea what height the star at 90 degrees above your head is. All you know is you can see it.
No.
Can I bring a model up, Bri? Which will...
Before you do, back me up, because I say Brian's wrong. I'm saying that if you look at this depiction on screen of this guy doing triangulation, right, if we assume a physical position for the light, so he's triangulating a literal lamppost. So in this depiction, instead of him in theory showing where the sun would be and triangulating it, we've got an actual light, a lamppost here. Yeah? Now, he knows the distance to the GP, right? He's got the first measurement along the flat line that can't be curved. Yeah? When he's got his angle, well, then he can utilise triangulation to get the height, can't he?
Yeah, Tenth can describe that with respect to things like lighthouses and stuff.
Adam, sorry. Just 1 second, Adam, before you go, right? No, you can do an angular size measurement of a light at the top of a pole, because you can then know the actual size of it by actually measuring it. But you can't do that with a light in the sky, because if I measure an 80-degree angle, right, of a star in the sky, then what height is that? That's 80 by 69 nautical miles. So what height does that make it? Ridiculous heights up in the sky. There's no. I can't. How can I support that? I can't. You can only do that on the surface of Earth because you can prove the distance.
Oh, I agree.
You can prove it.
No, I agree with you. In principle, I agree with you, which is why I never bring it up, and I will poo-poo people and challenge them to validate their triangulation to a height that they ascribe to the light in the sky. That doesn't change anything that we've detailed in terms of triangulation and gathering parallel lines. That simply does work. That is how it is done. But in terms of getting that extra square and saying, well, I've got the height now, I'd say to what?
Yeah, exactly. The triangulation works perfect. Taking an angle the size of something works to a tangible object. But it doesn't work with something that's intangible. There is a disconnect between you and it. You can't actually verify it. And that's where this whole thing, people think they could do that, is where this sun is 4,000 miles above a flat Earth nonsense came from.
Just be careful. Just be careful about what you say. Please just let me finish. Please. I beg of you.
All right.
You're overtly stating something that you can't do now. Now, that's just as bad. Why can't you? So, have you attempted to, if this was, my black and white picture was an actual star that he's doing this with, have you tried to travel that hypotenuse to the star? Have you attempted that?
No, I can only take an angle to it. I can't verify it.
Have you tried? Have you tried to travel that journey?
No, or straight up in the sky.
So why are you saying you can't? How do you know you can't?
No, I'm saying you can't. Not that you can't do it. It's you can't verify it. That's my point. I should have put in the word verify. My point is you can't verify that.
That's the same word. Can't verify. Hasn't been verified. Hasn't been travelled to. But we've been deceived about what the stars are and how far they are and whether or not we could travel to them. But what I'm saying is that doesn't mean we can't. I don't know that. I don't know that we can't.
Yeah, but okay, look, I'll make it more clear. I understand your point of view. My point is right now, today, I can't make a claim that a star is 4,000 miles up.
Right, I agree.
Used an angle.
I agree.
Because I can't prove that.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Saying you can, but I don't know about that.
We haven't, but we don't know if it's possible. It might be. That's one of the joys of being a flat earther. So it's like, okay, well, people say it's 3,000 miles for the sake of argument. And I go, okay, well, how have you got that? How have you verified that? And they go, well, I can't. I've triangulated this intangible object. And you go, well, that's just a load of old bunk. I'm not going to tolerate that. But I'm not going to then make the next step to say we can't, because I might be the one to do that. You know what I mean? So I don't like we can't. It's like, well, I don't know what the sky is or what the stars are, so I'm not going to rule out that I can't get to them. Well, I might get there and there might be a light. I might disrupt things by trying to, for all I know. I just don't know what I don't know, so I'm not going to say I can't get there.
Okay, I understand.
You would be able to get there. You would see some kind of perspective-based approach situation happening.
I would assume so.
Size increase of some sort.
I would assume
so. Never see any of that.
Yeah, if it had physicality, I would assume that rather than it moving as I move towards it, I would assume that there'd be some perspective aspect to it in its physicality, and it would get bloody bigger as I got towards it. Now, that doesn't happen. It's very bizarre behaviour of the stars. I can't profess to know what they are. But that doesn't mean I know what they aren't either.
No, I'm
Can
sorry.
I detail a very overt lie?
We might know its nature, but we don't know its
Can you just let
origin
Brian
and how
respond?
it is
That was
manifesting.
directed at Brian specifically, while the other 5 people pile in.
Sorry. My point is I can't today tell someone the sun is 3,000 miles up, right? Because I couldn't verify it is. I don't know what the sun is. It's not tangible. But I can take an angle to it. But that's all I can do.
Agreed, absolutely. Arwin, then I think it was Eli.
What was I saying again? Damn it!
I don't know.
All interrupted at the same time.
Eli, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, like, you know, to say that we can't is because of this belief in a sky vacuum and the because we know that the pressure is less at higher altitude. It's assumed.
We lost Eli.
Dropped him. Okay, I remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah, so we know some of the nature of the celestial lights due to our interactions with it and making note of the missing elements that we typically associate with Euclidean position, mainly perspective and size changes, apparent size changes, right? So that is the data we have. However, even if we realize this is very likely holographic due to a lack of other evidence, that doesn't automatically imply that we know how it is doing that.
Right.
What is actually generating it.
And holographic is one of the few words I don't take offence to because, you know, it's kind of self-evident in terms of what it does. So if you describe the stars as being holographic in nature, you're like, what other better word have you got?
Exactly. It's the only word I know that completely excludes a physical position-based nature.
And for now, that's fine.
It's the only thing, as an example.
For now, that's fine. It doesn't rule it out. You're just describing what you see and what you experience, which is fine. But I just hate ruling stuff out because it suddenly puts you into this little box where you go, oh, well, it can't be that. It's like those sorts of empirical statements are the kind of the antithesis statement in your scientific hypothesis, right? You know, well, it definitely isn't that. Well, you can say it definitely isn't that if you've gone through the method and disproven it. Empirically ruled it out by proving something else did cause it. Well, ruling things out is important. You're proving something. And that kind of expansion of your mind in terms of what possibilities are out there is a wondrous thing that you shouldn't necessarily put a lid on just because of maybe preconceived notions. Brian saying, oh, well, it's because we had an idea, or maybe it was Eli.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I thought I was talking this whole time, but looking at Adam Meekin presenting, it looks like you guys have moved on a little bit, and I didn't want to really get too far away from the point. I just wanted to say that I watched this video with drones, and they're doing maneuvers that I only thought it was impossible for any aircraft to do because they do this kind of weird bait and switch with arguments that you wouldn't make. So they'll say, that could never be any aircrafts that we made because, you know, a person could never man that. You know, they die. Those angles are too crazy. That's why it has to be alien technology. And so in your mind coming from that, because they don't all believe in aliens, but you have these things in the sky doing crazy maneuvers that everyone assumes is impossible because of the technology that we do have. But I have a 9-minute video of these small drone jets that are doing these impossible maneuvers that I thought my whole life was impossible. So I'm going to share the video. My whole point is that when we say you can't do something, it's impossible, think twice about saying it. That's my only
point. I wonder where you were going with that. That was a segue that I didn't quite follow until you got to the don't say everything's impossible because, like, your example, I can show you a drone doing something that until now most people would have assumed wasn't capable of being done because the pilot couldn't stand the forces. So your preconceived notions stop you from believing that something's actually capable of happening. Right.
Exactly. It's based on the pre-assumption that all vehicles that would fly would be manned, because for a century since flight came onto the scene, that is how flight was. So people simply wouldn't be able to imagine that there could be a flying device that would be remotely manned. Like, there's nobody in there. They couldn't imagine it.
Or that you could reach the stars by comparison, to bring us back on track. Adam, I've got your presentation on, if you wanted to.
I know we're all fond of models here. This was a model.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we like good curves, all right.
Well, it's just to come back to what was being said earlier about it being a flat rotating disc above us as well. So many years ago, I just modeled it just so I could visualize it better, because I'm a bit geeky like that. So what we've got here is a huge, it's about 1.5 meter diameter, big polystyrene disc, and I've embedded in it just optic fibers to create, painted it black, and then mounted it on a rotating table so that the sky rotates above you on a flat plane. And if I press play, it should show you that this is all on a flat plane observation, and flat plane that's equidistant from the ground, all of it. So, and it's this that gives the perspective effect. And I've put a little hill in there just so you can see some stars disappearing and then coming back. It kind of demonstrates to me that we are dealing with two flat planes, one stationary and one above us rotating.
Look at y'all all coming out as flat sky earthers. Aw.
Well, that looks
stupid.
Look at all the halo.
Can we just appreciate the majesty of Adam's hard work for a second while it's on screen?
Absolutely. Adam is the man.
He is the man. Check this out.
This was many years ago when you're on your own trying to figure these things out. So it was just to build, like I say, a sky.
I'm already.
How did you make this, Adam?
It's a big. If I pause it, I'll show you, because what I kind of used it for a couple of reasons, just to work out old stuff. There we go. Look. So if you look here, that's what it is, and then I turned it into an almanac as well, so you can have two rotating discs to work out the position of the sun and the moon, and basically the precession of the equinoxes within it.
Cool. Can I make a
you can see all the holes that are left in it from where the stars were. But the point I was making really was that kind of doesn't prove it, but it does show that you can measure different angles to these stars at different times, from the position. So my angle will be different based on its distance away from me, not because I'm rotating underneath it.
I am making note, though, of a very specific element to this setup, and that is that everything higher up in the view of the screen is wider apart than everything more towards the horizon. And in the actual heavenly sightings of the celestial lights, that doesn't happen. There's no difference between the angle between stars right above you and at the angle between stars at the horizon. So that makes it distinctly different.
Same goes for parallax. Exactly. You've got a parallax that you can obviously see going on here because the distance is so short between you and this. You said it was a couple of meters or something. It's nowhere near big enough by scale. But even then, you're still seeing effects of things that have physicality like parallax. And you're like, yeah, we don't get that in the sky.
Yeah.
See, Eli was hyped that everybody's talking about like a flat top right now, right? But didn't we say this before? Like, what they call it a celestial sphere, right? But who the hell sees it as a sphere?
I don't.
Show me that.
It is a sphere. It's a sphere, an apparent sphere at the edge of your vision of everybody's vision.
Hemisphere.
No.
Hemisphere.
Yeah. Hemisphere.
And if you think, look, we're talking about the sky, right? So we're really just talking about an aspect of what could potentially be the thing that holds the air that we breathe, right?
Hold on. Why'd you draw that correlation?
I said potentially.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No. Hold on.
Okay.
If you're in a Rolls Royce and you've got a star-lined headliner, right? So you're in your beautiful Rolls Royce and it's got all the stars in the headliner. You look up at the star-lined headliner and go, "That's the thing protecting me from the rain outside." It's like, well, actually, no. There's a whole bunch of electronics, then a big layer of insulation, then a layer of sound deadening, then 2 layers of metal. So no, that starliner that you're looking at definitely isn't protecting you from the rain.
Well, I think we might be making the same points, because what I'm saying is the star that you're looking at, I don't think it's where the firmament would be. I just think that the firmament or the containment or whatever, I think that the light is projected through that, which is why we don't get the effects of physical lights being at that physical location. That was my point.
Why? Why would you assume that the light's being projected through it when it could equally be the light being projected onto it? I mean, I'm now reversing my position into it being the sky with it projected onto it rather than through it. But why are you taking these positions is my question.
Yeah, but if you're
onto it and through it is the same. But if you change your angle it wouldn't. I don't think it would. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let me think it through.
Let me try to elaborate a little, right? If you're going to suggest it is in some kind of Euclidean position through, right, beyond our physical reach, outside of the firmament or whatever it is, well, then if it is still in a apparent Euclidean position, you would still be able to approach it and see effects of approach,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and get parallax and all the things that we just criticised about Adam's model. Exactly, Arwin.
Okay. Well, it's stranger than fiction. I don't know.
It is.
It is. It is. Right, it's bizarre. And no matter how much you can document it and track it and then make quasi predictions, say where the pattern's going to re-emerge, well, does it give you any more of a clue about what they actually are? No. Doesn't matter how accurately you've got it.
Right, we only get apparent angular locations, not actual, because if you move, it moves with you, apparently.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
When I move, you move, just like that.
Yeah, it's bizarre behaviour, and it doesn't match with things that we can experience in physicality.
No wonder the ancients called the stars angels, because to them, with even less mechanical, developed, technological-based understanding, it must have been even more mysterious, right? So no wonder they called it angels.
I think you'll find they're lions, like Simba was told.
They're guardian angels or guardian.
I'm right back
to guardian
that,
angels or
that
guardian
level.
angels.
Guardian lions.
I'm right back to that level of mysterious.
I got
because all the nonsense I'm told today doesn't match up.
Hello? Time out. Two people were talking at once.
Yeah, something. Hold on,
Chocolate and then the
hold
other
on,
guy.
Eli. Hold on, Chocolate. Something old. I think it is something like that.
Yeah, I was saying I have something to propose that just struck me. Well, if the stars are all projection lights, that's why so many, because so many things to project down here, and we're just all sentient projections.
Did anyone follow along with that?
Why not?
I couldn't make out what he was saying.
Not the second part, but I still do believe that they are projections being, but how? That's up for, well, not how, that's not up for debate, because there are people that wouldn't say what I'm saying, so I don't know.
Yeah, what I was saying, like they're projection lights, like they're projecting the reality down here. That's why it's so many, because it's so many different things down here.
Well, if you want to virtually fill it in, I have a potential solution, because I think that basically the celestial lights might simply be inserted within the realm's confine as a natural side effect. So whatever is going to have optics, an optics device, an eye, a camera, just simply will be subjected to this effect, because all the celestial lights are technically everywhere at all time. Right?
Whatever.
Yeah, indeed, whatever.
I think it's a big block of cheese.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, you can smell
Swiss or
cheese.
American?
You can smell
be
both.
American.
Swiss cheese?
Got to be American.
I'd just like to point out something, that the whole globe model and the whole cosmology, or if you want to call it, I don't know if cosmology is the correct word, the whole view of what we're told the sky is, that all came from basically the majority of that came from you're going back kind of on the big lead up, the 100-year lead up to the Industrial Revolution. So you're talking about a huge amount of people without any education being told by educated people what the sky was. You know, and if anyone within those uneducated people disagreed, who heard them? You know, and then eventually everyone ends up in the schools that are built by these wealthy and powerful people, and all the uneducated, poor children end up in there, and they end up learning all the stuff that these educated, wealthy people told them was real. And bit by bit, the narrative just carried on. So people are being taught the same stuff today in schools, but they're being taught by people who don't know any better, as opposed to originally people who did know better, and they knew they were lying when they said what they said. They knew they couldn't back it up, but because of their position, being wealthy, and because of being wealthy and educated, people listened to them.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.